Hi everybody, my name is Hannah and this is Pepper and Pine, and I have a geometry lesson to share with you today. We're working through our live education Waldorf curriculum, and today we're going to be working on the lesson for the golden triangle. This is going to move us into the golden section, but we're going to be working with our pentagon, which we have practiced for the last several lessons. I'm going to be doing this lesson in the main lesson book. These measure 9.5 inches by 12.5 inches, and you can find them at A Child's Dream. I'm going to set my compass at about 3 inches. I'm going to estimate the center of the page, and I'm going to draw my circle. Now, I do have a slow tutorial on constructing the pentagon, but I'm going to walk you through this now. So we have our center, and I'm going to use my straight edge. I'm going to draw our diameter right through the center. Next, I'm extending my compass larger than the circle, so that I can do an arc on the right and left side. And then I'm going to do it again from the top of the diameter. And now I can draw my line from both arcs right through the center. And now I have 4 division of a circle. But we only need this in order to get to 5 division of a circle. So now we need to readjust our compass back to the original radius. And I am going to double check. Now I'm going to swing an arc that goes right through the center, and it's going to cross the circle on 2 sides. So now I can draw a line that crosses that radius at the top. Now I want to readjust my compass again so that it hits the diameter and then swing an arc. Now we want to place our compass on the edge of the diameter to the point where that lower arc crosses the radius, and this measurement is going to give us our 5 division of a circle. So I'm going to swing that arc around the circle to give me my 5 divisions, and once I've double checked to make sure that it is indeed correct all the way around, now I can erase all of those extra lines and arcs, and now we can connect those 5 points in order to create our pentagon. So you can erase the extra arcs for those 5 points. And once we have our pentagon, we're going to work on making our triangle within that pentagon. So this is optional. You can color it in. And I thought that it looked really beautiful in the end, and it really accentuates each part of this project so that you can see how the pentagon comes from the circle, and then later how the triangle comes from the pentagon. So I used some green and then some blue. And the mistake that I made was that I did this while we were working on the process rather than doing this when we were completely done, so that we can get accurate measurements. And you're going to see a little bit of a problem later on in the project. Our triangle is formed with the top being at the top of the pentagon and the base being the lower part of the pentagon. And I'm highlighting it with a little bit of yellow color pencil. Now comes the exciting part, and that is creating our golden section. We want to place our straight edge to the point of our pentagon on the right side and the lower part of our base of the triangle. And when we draw our line, we're not drawing it all the way through the triangle. We're drawing it so that if it continued, it would connect to the edge of the pentagon. So now we have a triangle within a larger triangle, but we can make actually one more golden section within this smaller triangle. And I am adding some color pencils with each of these divisions. So now we want to get the golden section from this lower triangle. Again, we're going to use our straight edge, put it at the corner of that triangle, and then set our straight edge so that it's at the other point of the pentagon. So you can imagine that if these lines connected with the pentagon, you would create a star within the pentagon. So now we have another golden section within that little triangle. And if you want to keep going, you'll just need to bisect that top angle. But since we don't have another part of our pentagon to line it up, I didn't want to get our protractor out at this point, just because of the color pencil. It did not leave enough precision for us to be able to get that last angle. So now we have 3 triangles, and very easily we can find the golden section out of the large one and even out of the medium-sized one. And to do this, you want to take measurements of the lower part or the smaller part of the section to the larger part of the section, and then the larger part of the section to the whole section. So on the one side of the golden triangle, I have 2 measurements, and then the combined measurements is basically the measurement of the whole side on the other side. I'm quickly titling this the golden triangle, and now comes the fun part. We're going to do our math. So I'm going to write down the ratios for the smaller part of the triangle to the larger part, and then the larger part of the triangle to the whole. And I'm going to use my calculator to do this math. I'm writing down our golden ratio right next to each of those proportions, but we're going to check the actual golden ratio in this book called The Golden Section. And you can see that the lesser of the golden ratios is 0.618039, and then it keeps going and going. It's a very fascinating number, and we're doing okay. Not great, but we're in the ballpark. We're going to try this again with one of the other measurements for the smaller triangle, and we're still finding phi, which is the lesser of the golden sections, versus phi, which is the larger of the golden section. And to do that, you just need to flip your numbers, and your golden ratio for the lesser is 0.618039, etc. And then for the larger of the two, it's basically 1.618, and then it just continues. And so you can do it either way. Generally, we were doing it with the smaller of the golden ratios, but then we did it again with the larger of the golden ratio. And you can see that our numbers are still in the ballpark, not great, but pretty good for our first attempt at figuring this out. I'm going to go ahead and write down these results, and then I'm going to double check them in the book called The Golden Section one more time to see how well we did. And we did okay, but not super great. And so I'm thinking that we can do this again, but rather than doing this entire project again, we are going to use one of our previous lessons in order to figure this out. And this is primarily because of all of the color pencil around our design made it difficult for us to take accurate measurements. But we have this pentagon and star from a previous lesson, and so we can get these measurements without ruining this project at all. We can just take measurements because our golden triangle is embedded in our pentagon and in our 5-pointed star. So I have our measurements here. I'm going to go ahead and write this down on this lesson. Once again, we're going to write down our ratio and our proportion, and then we can do the math and see if we get any closer to the actual golden ratio. So I went ahead and wrote down our results, and they're roughly the same, as a matter of fact. We got 0.614, so a little bit better, but in the ballpark, and pretty exciting for us to get results that are getting us closer and closer to the actual constant, which is pretty amazing. I hope that you enjoyed this look at our lesson. Don't forget to check out the blog post that accompanies this video. It has more information on all of our geometry lessons. You can find that link down in the description box below. And if you'd like to see how we're homeschooling on a daily basis, you can find me on Instagram and now on TikTok at Pepper and Pine.